Gentlemen, welcome to the YouTube Model Builders Hangout presentation for tonight. It's Barry and Mike's MRR Tech Show. Our live Hangout presentation here tonight is all about 3D printing. And with us are our guests Miles Hale and Kent Hurley, who is a knowledgeable expert on 3D printing and taught me everything I know. But before we get to showing everybody, we're going to go through here and talk about all the YouTube Model Builders business. So do not forget that www.youtubemodelbuilders.com is your source for free model railroad information. You can go there, subscribe, and get notifications on anything that we do. Get the free online e-magazine that lists all the schedules for the live chat hangout presentations, and the information on the live show is there as well. So do not forget to go check out the website. And then here is our YouTube Model Builders Big Build Contest, hosted by Eric Hall from IMRRO.com YouTube channel. Build a big model railroad structure, put your build videos on YouTube, and you can be eligible to win great prizes. And all the rules and information and the registration stuff is on YouTubeModelBuilders.com.
Questions that appear in the avatars?
No, I'll probably have to read them to you because they're going to be too far away.
So we are ready to rock and roll here, gentlemen.
They're over here, but.
So first, let me bring up Miles and Kent here. So there's Kent Hurley on the left, Miles on the right. You all know Miles from different hangouts he's done with us and from his Model Railroad University. Dan is also one of his Model Railroad University instructors, all on 3D printing and such. So, please everybody go ahead and any viewers get your questions in, and we will get started with our presentation. Take it away, Miles.
Thank you much. Well, this show actually is a lot more about Kent because Kent's done so much more work than I have, and Kent's been kind of my mentor. We were going to buy a printer together, and I kind of backed out at the last minute. Kent went ahead and bought it with a couple of other guys here, and I think you finally wound up with all of it.
Yeah, I ended up buying everybody out.
But if you've been following his website, which is
nbrr49.blogspot.com.
You've been following it. He does a ton of prints with his Affinia H printer, and we've also used it at the Model Railroad University at Amherst, and Kent's actually taught it there as well. And then we both went together. I finally did break down after I saw what he could do, and we both went into the what they call it? No, the project. I can't think of what they call it.
X3D. The Kickstarter.
Kickstarter. Yeah, we went to Kickstarter, and we both bought the M3D, and we've got a sample of that back here too. Right now, we have running. I think you'll see the Affinia, which is running behind us, making parts. And without any further ado, because it's really Kent's show, I'll give it over to him, and he's got a building to talk about.
This particular building is basically 3D printed. What I did was printed all the walls on the Affinia and the windows.
Can't hear him.
Can't hear?
Is that any better?
A little bit better. Let me see if I can bring your microphone up a little bit more.
Go ahead, talk to me. Don't give him dead air.
Try it now.
What's that?
Try it now.
Try it.
Yeah, this basic farmhouse here was printed. Basically, the walls are all one piece. And then the window, in this particular one, then the roof is just added sheet styrene and some paper shingles. I think those are Wild West shingles for what it's worth. Chimney's also printed and stuff, and so is the foundation.
Show them the building before it looked like that.
Yeah, the most interesting thing to me is essentially I printed all the walls. That's all printed as one piece. So you have all the interior walls, including quite honestly the interior doors. You have all your view blocks in place, one piece. And then the windows are separate, and then the gable end pieces are separate. I print in ABS, so it's also weldable. fact, the gable end vent on the end is printed in place, and just glue it together. Paint it, glue it together like you would any other piece of plastic. To be honest, it is a type of styrene.
Now, I see on your one where you can see the walls, you put a closet in there. Was that just to stabilize the other bedroom walls or whatever? Or?
That's a really good question. This is actually based on prototype plan. South Dakota State University has tons of farm building plans up on their website, and this is actually right off their site. So this is a real house that was probably built in South Dakota. And so that was the closet that was there as part of the plan. So I drew it like that. Same way with the chimney here. There's really no reason to have that chimney there other than looks if you're looking in through the window. But to be real honest, unless you're going to light the inside, nobody's going to see that. You'll notice the walls are thicker at the top and the bottom than they are in the middle, and that's really just add some strength and stability to them. But otherwise, I mean, that's part of the design process. I did a lot of plans offline. I also work with some pictures and different things like this. This is another building I did. This one's obviously brick, but that's actually sliced in layers this direction for printing purposes. So that one's, as I recall, 4 different pieces put together. But you designed it that way. That one happens to also have windows that are printed on the Afinia. It won't print really fine stuff. So, for instance, round figures less than 2 inches in HO scale. So you don't, you can't get real fine windows. Sometimes when I want to do something really fine on a window, I will either use Tichy windows or Grant Line windows, or I'll actually design windows and send them to Shapeways and let them print them out. They can do finer windows than I can do. But bricks, you can see on the inside of that one, there's bracing that I actually braced, designed in the bracing, so that I make the walls thinner, because the thinner you make the walls, the quicker it'll print. And so you want to eliminate as much plastic as you can, not necessarily for the money-wise, even though that would be more expensive. Really, the plastic's pretty cheap. Whole roll of plastic is, let's flip back to the Afinia. That whole roll of plastic on the side there is, right over here, is like $40, and that's the premium type plastic. So you're not really, I mean, it'll last me 3 months. A roll of film will last me 3 months, and that's printing. Like last Saturday, I printed all day Saturday. didn't stop.
I've gotten emails from him when he had 2 and 3 of his printers working all at the same time.
Yeah, so it'll last a long time, really. So the cost of the plastic isn't the thing; it's really the time it takes to print. A building like this one, which is based on a picture, a couple of pictures that I have. Zoom that out a little. That's Cassville and Exeter Depot in Cassville, Missouri, and that has Tichy windows in it. But I printed that entire building standing upside down there with all that, and being 2 stories tall and just about as big an item as you could possibly print on that printer. That took 17 and a half hours to print.
Wow. Well, Kent, why did you print that particular building upside down?
You think I said that just so I could get that question in there, didn't you?
Exactly. Well, yeah.
Okay.
Miles, by the way, his mic cable's going staticky again.
All right.
Oh, here's this?
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah, I don't think it's.
Yeah.
Is that any better?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. What we're doing, we're taking really hot plastic and extruding it out of a nozzle. Okay. Think of it as a toothpaste tube. Okay. We're squeezing it out, and we're building things up with this toothpaste tube. If we want to have an overhang, we're going to drip it on the floor. So we have to have support to hold it up. That makes sense? So if I need an overhang out here, we have to have support. So on lap siding,
Here. Like on my iPad here, if this was a piece of shiplap siding where it was coming out, and then the next piece was back here. I've already get my hands in the right place. The other piece was back here, and it came out. Then every time that came out, if you built it right side up, you'd have to put a support underneath this portion. Get closer. You'd have to put something under here to hold this up. If he builds it upside down, it's already sloped. So the support is building itself in. You understand?
Yeah. That
Okay.
makes sense, yeah.
So lap siding works better printed upside down, quite simply. If as long as it's a 45 degrees angle, it'll print without any support, anything to hold it up. Okay? So even on something really small, if you have a 45, if you have an overhang, but you can hide that 45 underneath it, then you don't have to have any support to hold it up. But if you're just making a straight overhang, straight square like this, you got to have something to hold up this out here. And the computer actually, the program designs all that stuff for you. In my case, designs all that support material, so I don't even have to design it. But it wastes time, wastes material, and it may cause issues because there's support material you have to remove. Most of the time, it really doesn't cause a problem, but it could because you have hot plastic. If you have hot plastic, sometimes it doesn't break away as easy as it ought to.
It really does add a lot of time, and it takes a lot of material, depending on how high that support material has to rise to do its support and how many times
Right.
it has to do that.
Right.
And the other thing is it takes a tremendous amount of time then to clean that part and get that support material out of the way.
Yeah, I liken a lot of the 3D printed pieces are a little bit like working with something that was cast metal, that there's some cleanup work to do. Not always going to be perfectly clean. You're just not going to pull something off the printer and, hey, paint it and go on. You do have to sometimes do some cleanup. Sometimes you don't. It just depends on what it is. We'll show you some barrels because we're printing some HO scale barrels right now that, according to the thing, will be done in about 6 minutes. And I designed those with, as you can imagine, on a barrel, you have the little ribs around the barrel. I designed them so they're 45 degrees on the bottom side of that rib so that it wouldn't need any support. Again, in HO scale, it's so minute, you really don't notice that the 45 degrees is even there when it's weathered.
There we go.
So what kind of program do you guys use to design your models with?
I use SketchUp.
He taught me. I use SketchUp.
Yeah, SketchUp's free. You can do free download. If you're not using it for business, it's free to download. I learned by watching the videos. They have a lot of YouTube videos, but SketchUp has their own videos that you can look at, and in my opinion, they're excellent. I was literally stuck in an airport in Columbus, Ohio one day and put on the headset and played with my laptop and learned to do it in a couple hours. Got the basics down, started drawing stuff. You know, and in my opinion, you're going to spend more time designing than anything else on it. So if the item's available, you can order it from your local hobby shop or order it online. There's not a lot of reason to spend a lot of time designing it because you're going to spend hours sometimes designing stuff. You know, this particular building, switch this over here to this building. That building, I've probably got about 20 hours of design time in. So if that building was available, why would I, you know, switch to the building?
A little bit, sorry. The switch guy didn't do his switching.
Yeah.
And I'll add to that another answer to that question. I moved back so you could see the Cricut machine over here, which does 2D cutting, simulates somewhat a laser, although it's actually using a knife. But on that, then we use TurboCAD or any of the 2D type CAD drawing programs. It just, for me anyway, it seems to be a lot easier. So I use two programs, TurboCAD and the SketchUp. If I'm doing three-dimensional 3Ds on the M3D, I use the SketchUp, just like Kent does.
Yeah, we'll have another episode of the tech show here.
Yeah.
Miles talking about the Cricut cutter because that's been of some interest to people in the hobby. So
now Ken, going back to printing versus buying, what kind of criteria? Like, say I needed like 100 parts. Would that be something that's a candidate for printing? What would the criteria be?
If you can print it out, if you need 100 of them, there's no economy of scale in 3D printing, in that printing one of them versus printing 100 of them takes 100 times as long. They don't get any cheaper, if you will. You know what I mean? So if one of them costs $1 to make 3D printed, 100 of them are going to cost $100 because you're not making a mold. There's no economy of scale. That makes sense? Because you're just printing 100 of them, and the first one costs $1, the next one costs you $1. The only thing you're saving is design time once you've designed it.
Yeah. We did a comparison for you here, and this is something that both of us have preached for a long time. If the parts are not made, it's worth it to draw them and print them. And that's what Kent has done with the shop on this side. However, in my O scale, they make them. So it would be ridiculous for me to spend the hours. How many hours did it take you to draw that shop?
With all those tools, I have no idea. But yeah, way too many, 10, 20, 30
Yeah.
You should check this mic cable again, Miles.
All right, hold on a second. We're going to make a swap then.
Yeah.
Yes. And while you're swapping, let me kind of summarize that, I guess, or at least try to summarize that. So the deal is, when you're printing a part, you not only consider if the part's available, but you also consider the time it takes to print them out as well. So you don't say, well, the plastic costs, like $1. You have to figure in the time that you spent 20 hours to program it.
It's more the design time. You hear me okay now?
Yeah.
It's more the design time from my standpoint. Because once I start the printer, we're obviously doing something else and the printer's doing its work.
All right.
So if I start a 7-hour print to print some building, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'm off building something else. I'm designing the next item, and it's printing its thing. So the print time really doesn't concern me, other than personally, I don't want to go to work and leave it running when I'm not home. But
Yeah.
because in this case, I'm printing it again in ABS. The nozzle is 250 degrees Celsius, so it's extremely hot. So you don't want to touch the nozzle. That's why that little red thing's on there that says "Cush, it's hot," because it really is hot.
Now, the parts that you produce out of there, would they be, after whatever cleanup work you do, would they be effective for use in making as a master for a mold to then save money? Yes?
Yes, and that's something, if you're going to do 100 of them, in fact, I have, well, we can see this or not, but this is these are roundhouse fronts. Maybe get this into a better.
And say, put it over there. Here,
Put it over here.
I've got you up here on that, so you can talk about the barrels, and I'll set that one up for you then, while you do that.
We'll do two things at once here.
Yeah.
But I've in this particular, what he set up there is a roundhouse front end. I think it's pronounced Salida roundhouse.
Salida, yeah.
Salida, Colorado roundhouse front. And I'm making masters for a guy, and it's a how many stall roundhouse? 27 stall or something.
It's a bunch.
It's a bunch. And
Okay.
so
You're up on it now.
essentially made a left and a right and center pieces so that they'll overlap each other. Getting our cords tied up here.
Yeah.
But essentially, then the guy's going to take those masters and make castings so that I don't have to print 27 of them.
Oh, there you go.
And in this case, I even have brick on the inside because he wanted to detail the inside of the roundhouse, which,
You're up on here now.
So you can actually print the brick facing too.
Yeah, no, well, you print the brick facing because you designed the brick facing. You got to draw the bricks.
Wow.
Put the relief in.
Yeah,
That's a whole nother clinic, but without getting horribly, you really do draw each individual brick. You
Wow.
don't have to draw a brick. You save the brick and you start stacking bricks. You literally build the wall. You build.
Right, but Kent, there's only brick on one side, right? If you want brick on both sides, you would have to make two parts and sandwich them together, right?
No.
No.
That's a good question. this particular part is printed like that, standing up on its end.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and the reason's because if I did it like this, I'd have to have a ton of support to hold up this piece right here in the middle, hold
Right.
all that plastic up right in the middle, right? See?
Right.
Okay, but if I turn it like this, there's no real support needed.
Does that stand straight up? I mean, as you're printing that, wouldn't it have a tendency to fall one way or the other? The
Yeah.
legs?
Miles printed this on his M3D printer, and
Okay.
essentially he's going to put it like this over top of the motors and things in the engine and put his electronics up on top of it. So he prints it like this because then it doesn't need any support.
And how high can you go for something thin like that leg
How high these legs could go?
without bowing or warping?
That's an interesting question. Essentially, as high as the printer will let it go. The difference is the diameters of the things here, because and it's also a little more complicated than that, but we're going to do it talk about it anyway. With 4 of them, it's printing one of these, a layer on each one of these, and going around in circles, right?
Right.
And so it has time to cool before it comes back to it. If it stays in one place and just keeps going on this one, if we were just doing one of these, it would actually get wobbly just because of the heat involved.
Okay.
You're better off, and you'll have better quality print if you printed 4 barrels than if I print 1 barrel. So the barrels real quick. Let's just show that this thing is done over here. When it gets done, you can see the 4 barrels on there. I'll take them off of here.
Yeah. Now, Kent, do you have to let those barrels set after you print them a little bit, or
No.
just right?
No, they're done automatically, really quick.
Okay.
Let's get where we go
Want to
back.
get back in there?
Yeah, well, let's go over to this one.
Okay.
Got too many
Yeah.
cameras here. I'm not used to this. Okay, so there's the barrels as they come out. Okay, I print 2 that are solid, 2 that are hollow. Okay, and they're on what they call rafts. So it sets down what I call a table to make sure everything's flat, and then it starts building on that. Okay, in this case, and then the raft. The whole idea is that they pop off the raft really easy, and in this case, they obviously do. Okay. Yeah, here's a bigger piece of raft, and we'll show you some more on those actually. But the barrels, you might want to touch them up. This one's got a little bit of where the plastic got too hot. You can see it's a little burned down at the bottom. So you might want to break that off or touch it up with a file. But otherwise, they're pretty much ready to paint. The other thing about these is, paint-wise, virtually anything will stick to this. It's actually kind of rough. And it's very
Lower your hand a little bit, Kent, so we can see them.
Yeah, they can't see you. You're out of frame.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, put your hand low. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, it's very rough, very porous, so even craft paints will go straight on without any primer. Now, I usually use a primer, and because of the layering that does show, if you look really closely, I actually use a primer with a lot of filler, because I actually want to cover the detail in this case. I want to cover that layering. But I don't. It just depends on the mood I'm in and how big a hurry I'm in, to be real honest. Okay? But from the home printer standpoint, like this one, the 15, that's the Affinia is $1,300, and the M3D is $350. That's probably about as fine a detail as you're going to get. You're not going to be able to get to the fine stuff like we were talking about. Look, go back to this thing, which is stuff I had printed at Shapeways. I designed it all, but I had them printed at Shapeways because you just can't get that fine, get that small of stuff.
Well, how's the resolution on the Affinia H compared to the M3D?
Well, that's an interesting comment. Essentially, they should be the same in theory, okay? Because they're both extruding out through the same size nozzle. But they have software differences. The Affinia company doesn't want me playing with their software, and I'm not a software engineer and I'm not a computer person, so I bought the Affinia because it was easy. It's plug and play. I plugged it in, it starts working. It does all the hard work. It has its own software built into it. because of that, it limits you on what you can do because I can't adjust the software to say, hey, I want to try something that is really, really thin and see if it'll work. Because it knows that it's going to be a problem, and rather than having me have a bad experience, and he does not want me to have a bad experience, so the software won't let me do anything. For instance, for round figures, slightly off, but for round figures in HO scale, the thinnest wall I can print with the Affinia is 2 inches. Very flexible wall. Really don't want to go that small, but they won't let you go any less than it. If I draw a wall that is 1.5 inches thick, software just ignores it. It just doesn't print anything. Okay? So the walls, for instance, on most of my buildings, like on the inside of this building, most of my walls are about 3 inches thick because that's what it takes to have any strength, so it's not flexible and it doesn't bend or work real bad. But if I wanted to get something really thin, like for instance, a very well there, but that's a wagon wheel. That would not print on the Affinia because it's too small. That it's like only about 1.5 inches. I think it's a little less than 1.5 inches on the spokes. But on the M3D, because they don't have that in their software, it will attempt to print that. It won't do a very good job. That's when done at Shapeways. But at Shapeways, that little wheel there, by the time you pay the freight, you pay the $5 setup charge, about that wheel costs about $1. But I can print it on, it's not near as nice, real close, on the M3D, literally pennies. Sometimes because the main cost is the printer, the plastics.
We're starting to lose you on the audio again. You're getting real faint in the back. I know anybody trying to watch this recording is not going to be able to hear you.
Talk louder.
Okay.
If you can.
That's microphone move over here, maybe too. How's that? That better?
Yeah, it's a little bit better.
Okay. I think that might be the microphone a little better. Suck it back down. But yeah, the M3D will, because it doesn't have software that it has software that lets you play with it and do things, it'll attempt things that the Affinia won't do. But in theory, they really will do the same thing. We're having a, I mean, that's probably.
We'll go down there. Sorry.
That little string there on the top, that's essentially what we're extruding out. That's what we're building up to make a model.
So what size plastic is that?
Well, it's extruding out 0.006.
Yeah.
It's 6/1000 of an inch diameter.
Essentially a human hair.
Yeah, it's pretty thick human hair, but yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what it extrudes
That's
out.
the thickness of one layer of material, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's your minimum resolution then of any object.
Not really, but
Really?
not really because it's so small, and because it's round, it's rounded. It really doesn't work out really that well.
Oh, okay.
Some of the websites, because there are tons of people making these printers, and some of the websites will tell you that, yeah, we've got a 0.006 resolution. But I can tell you that's really bogus. What most of the really good printers, Affinia being a company that's a major company, theirs doesn't tell you a resolution. They just tell you that it extrudes out a 0.006 piece of plastic because they don't want you realizing. But that again, if I made a wall that was just 0.00 thick, it would just fall over and have to be stacked up perfectly on top of each other. And the machine's not that good. Basically, the inside of the machine real quick here. In this particular case, you've got, you hanging out a little bit here. The table moves in and out and up and down, and the head up here moves. The head up here moves side to side. So you've got an X, Y, and Z axis working there, and all it really is, there's stepper motors in there and a bunch of pulleys and belts. Okay, and so everything has to line up perfectly. If one of those slips just a little bit, then you get all screwed up. Now, I haven't had any major slippage very often, but it's really hard to get that 0.006 piece stacked on top of itself. That's why in Affinia's case, their software won't even allow you to try it. Try to build a wall that, and it says no. You're going to have a problem. We don't want you to have a problem. We want you to have a good experience. But I've printed some things on the M3D that were actually finer, but most of the big stuff, the Affinia does a much better job.
Okay.
Here's a wonder question for you guys. In terms of printing, is the extruding, the thermal extruder like you have there, is that more suited to doing curves and round objects or straight objects? Like walls versus wavy walls?
I don't think it makes any difference at all, actually. No, it's in fact, there are times when I've had things when it was too long to go across the bed of it. In other words, to go across this way, the thing I'm printing is too big, so I needed it was straight. I put it at an angle across the bed because that way it would fit. And so that, and it still made a straight wall going at an angle. It's just that then all the pulleys are working.
This is a base piece that I use for the bottom of my cars. I'm scratch building reefers, and I wanted something where I could put the air cylinders and that kind of stuff under it. On the M3D, it'll redline and say that I can't put it straight across, but I put it on diagonally and it works.
Okay. Have you guys ever tried printing figures? And if so, what scale would be the best scale to print in?
Well, you wouldn't want to print figures with these printers because there's too many overhangs in a body standing here. You'll
have support hanging everywhere.
It'd be a mess. Okay. You could print them at Shapeways, and I would print them in their frosted ultra detail. But somebody has to draw a figure. Figures are not easy to draw. There's too many curves.
Do you want to talk about the different types or the chemistry of the prints?
Sure, why not? That's where I was going to go with this too. Wow.
All right. Well, originally, from my standpoint, and I'm coming into this from the professional model maker side because I saw this stuff demoed probably 20, 25 years ago for the government and for professional model houses. What they started off with was laser cutting, and they literally layered pieces of paper together to build up a model. And they were extremely fragile because the layers, obviously, keeping them together and keeping them in alignment was difficult, and especially if you're going to make anything very small. And then they came along, I believe the next thing was SLA, a sintered laser, and that uses a liquid chemistry. And the vat, similar to, let's take Kent's house here, that would be the vat, that area, the black, that would be contained with liquid. And in that would be his platen like this, except it would be all the way up to the top of that vat. It would actually be 6/1000ths of an inch below the top of the vat. The laser beam would come over the top of that liquid and harden it wherever the beam hit. Then the platen would drop 6/1000ths of an inch, track it again, down and again. The problem with the SLA was twofold. First of all, the chemistry was limited. It was brittle, and it took a lot of careful handling to get smaller parts out. And even though the part was in liquid, they still had to put in the support material. So they came up with a SLS.
I actually owned an SLA printer for a few months.
Yeah.
And the problem I had with it is you just about have to be working in a clean room. And you have to wear gloves all the time because the stuff's really sticky, the resin you're messing with, and the smell was horrible. So you open up the whole house, and after working with it for a while, it's like, you know what, I think I can sell this for what I got in it, so I did. Because at that point, I could send those, to get that fine of stuff, I just send it to Shapeways, wait a couple of weeks, and they send it to me.
And I'm not sure at what point in the chronological order somebody can correct me on this, but there was FDM, which is what these machines are. They're depositing material, plastic. They also came up down in Austin, Texas with SLS. I believe that was where they invented it. It's the powder. And that's what Shapeways is using that Kent talked about sending your parts off to. It's a vat of powder but the platen is all the way up to the top of that vat, and there's a rake. There's 2 pots of powder, and the rake will pick up powder here and rake 6/1000ths of an inch in that center. The laser tracks, it takes the 6/1000ths of an inch and rakes it back the other way while the platen drops that 6/1000ths. Does it again, drops again, rakes another one, and so on and so forth. Whereas the plastic deposit machines like we're using simply build on a platen. And they also require support material then, because the support can be, you know, like you said, the figure, it can be out here in midair, and I've got to have something underneath my hands in order for it to work. But at any rate, that's the different chemistries. When you're going to Shapeways and you're doing the powder, the nice thing about the powder stuff is that there are many different chemistries that can be used. And you can get them all the way from, you can make photographic bellows for a camera that will give and move in and out, all the way up to some very, very hard plastics. And now they're doing metal, wood impregnated, electrically impregnated. You can do all kinds of different stuff with the SLS, and even some of the FDMs.
The other thing with the powder stuff, you're not limited to 6/1000ths of an inch, because you can make powder insanely fine, and we can make it 10/1000ths of an inch layer. It's going to take forever to print. It's going to take, because each layer takes time, but you can make them very fine. The material from Shapeways now, they call it the FXD, which is busted extreme details, the newest one. It's, in my opinion, it's a little overpriced for what it is, but man, the detail is impressive. I mean, the ones on that in that little tire shop there are frosted ultra detail, and you know, in my opinion, you don't need better than that. But
I'll show you what's beeping. It's the machine coming up. Platen's coming up and getting ready to print again. What are you doing this time? Barrels again?
doing wood barrels this time instead of
Okay.
steel ones.
Okay.
The barrels take about 20 minutes, so they're an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
And
We can do them
everybody
during the
wants
show.
barrels, so when I'm at shows, I just give them away.
Show them your machine shop, because I think that's cool.
Oh, okay, sure.
So it's building the raft right now?
Yeah.
What's that?
It's building the raft right now?
Yes, actually.
Yes, if I go back to the machine, it's laying down that flat section piece first.
Yeah, it actually, in this case, the Affinia is set. It lays down 7 layers, to be honest, and each layer has a different speed at which the head's moving, so that makes it so it's easier for it to pull off later.
This Quonset I think is really cool. I wanted to show that to you.
Yeah, that's the basic building is 3D printed. One thing we didn't cover the material that I'm using is ABS, but they also make it other things. They make PLA, which is a corn-based material, and they infuse it with a lot of different things. You can buy it with wood in it, with iron in it, copper in it, stuff. But you can also get ABS and PLA in different colors, so you can get it any color you want. In this case, I don't know if we can get a good view of it here, but that's clear on the ends, so the light actually shines through, so you can see the lights on inside the building. You can see through and see the trusses. The trusses are all printed and everything. And inside the building, get it into position there. All the machinery inside is also 3D printed. All the machinery is printed at Shapeways. So we've got a full machine shop, drill presses, everything.
So you drew all those in SketchUp?
Yeah.
Wow.
We're not going to talk about how much time there is in some. The lathe over there, which is actually in the wrong. I just dropped them in there with some rubber cement, and I got it actually facing the wrong direction. But I would say I might have 6 hours or more in that stupid lathe.
Wow.
Kent, did you print the lathe yourself, or and those machines yourself, or did you get
Those
those
are all
on Shapeways?
items. Then there's some problems with them. I've actually reordered it because I found some mistakes in my drawings, and the next one worked fine. So, but I sold a lot of those.
Now, is there a lot of objects that you can take from, say, SketchUp's 3D warehouse and then bring them in, modify them, and then print them?
I have never found an item on there yet that was 3D printable, in my opinion. And in some cases, they're a great place to start with.
Right. Okay.
SketchUp 3D warehouse basically when you're in SketchUp, there's a warehouse you can go to with people uploaded tons of things they've drawn, and said, hey, we want to, we want to show off what we've done. And they're not thinking in terms of, hey, I want it to be 3D printable. They want to have a really neat vehicle or whatever. Okay. So I've never found anything there that was 3D printable, not even close. But sometimes they're a good start. But sometimes, I would say 50% of the time when I do that, I find an item there, it's a good starting point to look at, and I put a picture of it on one side of my screen, and I start drawing next to it, because theirs is so bad. So far from 3D printable, it's not a bad drawing. Usually they're excellent drawings. People don't put stuff up to show off bad drawings. They're excellent drawings, but they're not so far from 3D printable. They have so many fine things on them. For instance, I'm working on a Chevy 235 engine right now. And I downloaded the drawing from a guy who did a marvelous job of drawing a Chevy 235 engine. It's so marvelous that he drew all the spark plugs complete, screwed into place. Okay?
Wow.
All the wires running to all the spark plugs to the distributor. Well, the wires are too small to ever print in HO scale. I don't need those. So I got to erase all of those. The inside on this particular one, he didn't put pistons, but I've actually seen one where the guy put all the pistons, all the crankshafts inside the engine. Well, I don't need any of that, and in fact, that's a problem because now I got a bunch of hidden surfaces, which is a whole other issue. But you want to have just a shell that you're going to print. It's a tight shell that's watertight, and so I got to eliminate all that crap out of the middle of it. It would take me hours of just erasing stuff, get rid of that. So I'm better off saying, well, he's got a good one here, and I don't need anything that's less than, say, an inch in diameter isn't going to print anyway, shapeways. So I just eliminate that. I draw my own thing. I use his as a good starting point or inspiration, if you will. But I could do the same thing if I had a good picture too. Just, if I have a picture that's a photograph, I can probably do the same thing with the drawing.
Now, is there any third-party websites that have SketchUp models available?
There's one called PinShape, but I've
What's
never
it called?
PinShape. I think it's just PINSHAPE. I've never seen anything on there except my barrels that was HO Railroady. It was even Model Railroady, but there's a lot of different things up there. There's one called Thingiverse that has a lot of things up there, but I don't know that I've ever seen anything up there that was Model Railroad related. There's a lot of stuff up there. But that's a site that was originally started by the company MakerBot that makes printers. And they want
Actually, on Thingiverse, I saw somebody had like NN3 trucks and all sorts of craziness. I just wonder how they would run.
Printing them on an FDM printer and NN3 trucks, you might as well just kill yourself now. That would be cool. But those type of things, I know Rich Broomgard, I believe he is, from Pennsylvania, has done HON 30 trucks and done them in the FXD and the Frosted Extreme detail at Shapeways, and they are fabulous. He's done freight trucks and passenger trucks in HON 30, and there's not a whole lot available in HON 30. Not too many of us idiots that do that HON 30, but he's done some stuff there, and you can do that, and they seem to wear fine from what I've seen. He designed them to fit the Fox Valley metal trucks even, or the metal wheel sets, and they seem to be fine. So I don't know that you could run them that much, but you could not get trucks on an FDM printer like this that we're using. Nah, you'd never get that fine. They would look horrible. I've seen some guys printed. I know a guy that printed some N-scale hopper cars using a printer like this. And he was quite proud of them, but I wouldn't have used them except to rust them up. I mean, it's just not. I don't know if we can get a. This is a. I think we can. You think we can see the layering in that?
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go for it. I'll put it in there, and you talk about it. I'll hold it.
See if we can get that focused in there. That's one of the first. That's really the first building, in my opinion.
Wow, you gotta switch the camera over.
Yes, let's switch the screens here.
Oh.
There we go.
Tap twice. There we go.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay, it's a smokehouse, and that's really the first building I ever printed. I remember when I printed that, I ran to lunch the model railroad lunch, the group that meets here, because I had to show that to people. I don't know if you can really see it. Now, the concrete blocks, but there's layering. And I sanded it a little bit.
Yeah, I can see it a little bit, yeah.
And that layering is there. You just can't get away from it because that is the beads.
I could figure out how to hold the thing up.
You can't hold it still. But you can't get rid of it. You're laying down beads of plastic, and you just can't get away from that layer. Okay? And so...
I recognize that model.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Affinia has used that in their advertising, has used that particular building. And don't get me wrong, they paid me for it. They gave me a free roll of plastic, so that was a good thing as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, I can see the layering and the blocks on that view right there.
Yeah, if you got a good picture, you should be able to see that. And
yeah, there's like three lines on each brick.
Yeah, and it's probably quite a bit more than that, but that's, you know, and again, if you sand it, maybe you can get rid of them, but again, if you're 3 feet away, you're sure not going to see them. So
Yeah.
how much purple you want to go to? I don't know. That's somebody else's. That particular, leave that in there.
You want to? Okay, I was going to do something else. Okay.
As an example of what this item looks like when it comes out of the printer, that's really what it looks like when it comes out of the printer. Okay? And so it's setting on the raft. You got a roof that's separate because I printed the roof separate. You got all the little pieces separate. And you can turn it around to the front.
Right after I get it centered, turn it.
Yeah, as soon as you can see the support material holding up where the door goes in. So the header for the door is held up by that the support material there. But that's the way it comes off the printer. And you bust it all loose and paint it up.
Wow.
Okay.
And I want to give a kind of a plug here because this is what makes the difference in my opinion. Yeah, let's go to this one. Here's a bank building that he's done. And that obviously could not have been or should not have been printed in one shot. Kent's ability to fit these things together and get layers, because he's not always printing this in one shot. Absolutely phenomenal, and that's what makes the difference in what he does and how it comes out. And I'll give him another plug. That's just pure experience. You don't do it the first time.
Yeah, I hate to think how many mistakes I've made.
Yeah.
That particular building, I like to give plugs at least. That is the Bennington State Bank in beautiful Bennington, Minnesota. I saw a picture and I said this perfect size building for a model railroad because you don't want a big building. It looks like a cool building, so I drew it all up and I printed it out and I took it to the hobby shop just north of here. And I showed it to the guy and he said, "Well, that's just awesome." And he got on the internet. I had worked from a really old, ugly black and white picture. Well, Bennington Bank is a state historic site. There's 1,000 pictures I could have worked from that would have been better, but I really did okay.
Well, what do you mean by you designed it in layers, Kent?
I'm sorry, say it again?
What do you mean by you designed it in layers?
Okay, it's not a one-piece front. And building this thing so that the pieces will fit together and match up, to
Right.
me, becomes a real key factor. You can't just go crazy and do it.
I was going to say, I might be able to. Can we take a picture of the screen here?
Sure, yeah.
Let me see if I can find a good example of that, because this building here is a perfect example of a building that was cut into pieces. Well, they'll find it here. That was cut into a million different pieces.
If you can swing the camera around in front of the screen when you're ready, Miles, that would be good.
A little more?
Yeah, I'll turn the camera right.
Hold on, sorry.
It's all right.
We're really going crazy.
Oh, there we
Better?
go. There we go. That's better. Yeah.
Sorry, we're going to get the rolling moray on it, but you
That's all right. I mean,
can kind of tell what's going on.
oh, okay. I see what you've done
It
now.
is.
See what I mean?
There's the whole building as one piece, right there, right?
Right.
But to print it, I printed all these pieces over here.
It's actually printed in all 4 of these pieces plus a few.
Yeah, plus the windows over here. And then these pieces are stacked up on top of each other. Now, the reason
Gotcha.
I did that, it's really important because this piece here is actually printed upside down, so that these are the tops of the windows. If I turned it over, I'd have a ton of support to hold that window up, and it probably would have taken hours more to print.
It's the same thing we talked about it a little bit ago when you print that leg on certain pieces. This is treated as a leg, and he's just split that window. So he's printing one window up this way, printing the other window upside down, and then putting them together.
Yes. See, this piece here
between here and here.
Yeah, this piece here is going to flip up and go on top of this piece up here. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. And then this piece.
When you designed that,
Yeah.
That's why I say a lot of this stuff is experience and learning. If you just went to print that, you would have had all that support material in every window and every door opening. But by simply chopping it in half, he now is able to print them both, and he has very little, if no, there's actually no support material.
Yeah, I guess that's my question. Do you design the building first as a whole and then chop it up? I guess that's the way you have to do it, right?
Yes, you've got to think about, how am I going to achieve the whole, and it may be that I have to do it in pieces and parts.
Yeah, and everybody's going to have their own idea of the way of doing it. In my case, I draw the whole building. I draw this whole building, and then I look at it and figure out how am I going to break it up. I don't even think about it. Well, I think about it, but I don't worry about how I'm going to break it up. I assume that when I get done, I'll figure it out. Okay?
Now, is there like a tool to split the model along a plane or something like that?
Yeah. In fact, if you look real here, that's what this line right here is where I split the model at.
Oh, okay, I follow you. Okay.
In this case, I split it right above this thing here again because I wanted to be able to turn it upside down to have that ledge.
Right. Okay.
Go back to your ledge piece here.
Yeah.
Almost.
Oops, over here.
What he's actually got is the ledge on the base there so that it doesn't have to be supported. Everything's working its way in narrower and narrower.
Oh, okay.
Rather than the other way around.
Yeah, in this particular piece, the only thing that needs support is these little pieces right here overhang the sides.
Oh, okay.
There's no support needed in that whole piece.
Wow.
Okay,
yeah,
so
that is experience, and designing and in printing it.
Making mistakes first.
Yeah.
You call it experience, but you make a lot of mistakes, and that's how you learn sometimes. Well, we're talking about printing upside down on some of the stuff too. This is flip over to this one.
It's on there.
Okay,
you're on.
This is really actually a little sawmill based again on an old picture. But you can see, I think I printed it upside down. You can see that the door here, and you can see the gable end roof here. So I actually built this support to hold that wall up. And I'll just cut it off with a saw, or actually I'll use some diagonal cutters and cut it off and file it a little bit. But that building there, I basically printed in one piece upside down.
Wow.
And then draw the lap siding on it. And in this case, actually on this wall, and you can see that there's actually I put some holes in the wall where the studs are seen, where the siding's falling off. But
okay.
You can actually print the vents in place and everything. In that particular one, I sized the windows to fit a Tichy. Tichy windows.
Well, we're going to take a real quick break here so we can do some show business. And then you guys can take a real quick break, and then I'll be back with you guys in a minute or two.
Okay, no problem.
Alrighty, folks. So I'm going to go through our little bit of show business here for everyone. Bring up the screen share. Alright, so as we all know, tonight we're watching the Barry Mike's Model Railroad Tech Show presented from YouTube Model Builders. There we go. So do not forget to visit the www.youtubemodelbuilders.com. It's your source for free model railroad resources. We're actually looking to build a resource page soon that have links to companies and everything like that. Coming up actually tomorrow night, we'll be publishing another edition of our free online e-mag. And then we have our Tuesday night and Thursday night live chat presentation hangouts, and once a month we have a live show with Big Bill and myself, and we got a few new things coming up in the works that we'll be announcing, so just stay tuned. Everything's got going to be growing a little bit, I think. So I think you'll enjoy what we have to offer coming up. And do not forget, you have 15 more days to get into the YouTube Model Builders Big Build Contest hosted by Eric Hall from the YouTube channel IMRRO.com. So you build a model railroad structure, you do your 3 videos, put your build on YouTube, and you can be eligible to win great prizes. The grand prize is $250, and then it's I think it's $150 and $100. So the total is $500 we're giving out. And there's information on how to get your model submitted and everything on YouTubeModelBuilders.com. I believe Eric did the videos on his channel on how to put your videos together to be in the contest. So go on over to his channel and take a look if you're interested. Right now we have, I think, like 20 people, so we've got room for plenty more. And so come on in and join. Right, back to the hangout here. All right, gentlemen, we're back live here, so go on with our next little conversation, piece of the conversation. Well, what do you got there, Kent?
You needed to present him again.
Yes.
Barry.
Thank you, Jim. There we go.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Good to have you around.
How's that?
There you go.
Okay. Sorry, we weren't quite ready. We were switching some cords around to make us a little...
Trying to switch cameras and cords again on you.
Did we get this one? Show this one?
Oh, shit. Yeah, put it on that one over there. Can you put it in front of the computer?
Yeah,
And then
this just kind of give you an idea of some of the smaller items that I printed on the Infinia. Give you,
that should be
give you
on.
some idea of what can be done.
Wow.
So the little yellow things over there, here, for instance, for what it's worth, those are car horses, which essentially are jack stands for freight cars. Yeah, everybody needs a coffin or two around, You gotta.
Are you seeing anything, guys?
Yes, it's there.
Okay, all right.
The desk and things, the concrete block here, that's an O-scale concrete block. You really couldn't do an HO scale on the Infinia. I have done them 3 ways.
His audio's getting soft again.
Yeah, your audio.
Talk louder. Talk louder.
The gas can, I think we probably slipped that position.
Yeah,
Gas pumps and things are together.
Yeah, it just cut out really bad. Yeah.
Talk to me now. How's that?
There you go.
Try another chord. But all of those things are just some. You can see the bathroom fixtures and things like that. If you look really close, I don't know if we can get really too close on them, but they're not really as nice as ones I could get shapeways. But again, who's going to get within 2 feet of them and see it? The twisted chimneys are just are bricks that I designed. Twisted chimneys. That's one of those things. Somebody online one night, one of the model railroad forums online, said, "Hey, I want one of these twisted chimneys. Anybody know where you can get one of those?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I can make that." And I could I travel a lot in my job, and so I can either go out and drink beer, or I can sit in the hotel and draw chimneys. So I sat in the hotel that night and drew chimneys, and went home the next night and printed out a chimney and shipped it to her.
Very nice. I mean, a lot of these interior details are fine printed on something like the Infinia or the M3D because they're going to be inside.
Yeah, again, most of the time they're in the shade. They're inside the building. You're not going to see them to speak of. So, I mean, here's an example. I'll just put it right. This particular, let me see if we can get that forklift, the basic body and the wheels were printed on the Infinia. Okay, but then I scratch built all the other pieces, and just for fun, I just ordered the entire thing already assembled in one piece, and that's a shapeways, already done. The only thing you'd have to add to that is the shifter pieces of wire for that, but it's comes as one piece from Shapeways, or I can print it out at home. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I guess. It's easier to paint this one because it comes in multiple pieces.
Right. Yeah.
You know.
How fine a scale can you do those? Can you do any scale?
I'm sorry. Say it again.
Would you be able to do something like that in N scale?
You can do a lot in N scale, but again, you're limited. For round figures, in N scale, there's very little you can do, in my opinion, on an FDM printer. I've done some structures, but you can't do bricks because bricks are actually too small. I can do concrete blocks. That's not an issue, but bricks are too small. Let me move to the other camera. Sorry, not that anybody really needs to see me, but bricks are really too small in N scale to print on an FDM home printer. You can do them at Shapeways, but they're going to cost a lot more. But again, N scale is so much smaller, you can get away with that, I suppose. But for round figures, the smallest that I really like to print on my home printer is about 2 inches. So even those steel barrels that we were looking at, the walls are 2 inches thick, which is insanely heavy. The bricks that we were looking at earlier on some of these buildings, like on this one, for instance, the mortar line on a normal brick's 3/8 of an inch, ½ inch at most, right? It makes sense. And these look pretty good. The mortar line's 2 inches, but it looks right. So sometimes we don't do things prototypically correct. We do them so they look right. Okay.
But
This
you're
is actually,
you're talking 2-inch scale inches.
2 scale inches, which
Okay.
granted is 0.023 inches, so it's 23 thousandths of an inch, but it's way over scale. And I make them V-groove, and the reason I make them V-groove rather than a square cutout is because that eliminates any need for any support to hold them up.
Oh, that will be ugly to clean that much support material off.
Oh yeah. This building here, I was able to slice it in so many places because of the bricks having the lines that I didn't need to have hardly any support. You get a building like this one, which is a much bigger building, and I printed it upside down like this for the basic building. You can see inside, there's walls and view blocks already built into it, but when I printed it upside down like this, all of these window openings and door openings had to have support to hold that up. And so there was a ton to remove, but it's really pretty easy to remove. It's not difficult at all. But there's a ton of plastic that quite honestly goes into the trash at that point because all the raft is going in the trash, all the support materials going in the trash. It just isn't worth trying to save. Technically it's recyclable, but I'd have to buy an extruder to heat it up and extrude it and spend $500 for an extruder when then all I've got is recycled material, which is never as good as the virgin material. So I'm not going to do that.
But now with that one, did you print the roof on it as well?
No, the roof is just sheet styrene.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, the roof is sheet styrene. In fact, these are laser kits shingles.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just sheet styrene. And again, because I'm printing in ABS, these are Tichy windows. They're slightly kit bashed because this isn't your standard Tichy window. I had to do some cutting on them to get them to look right. But I sized the hole to fit the Tichy windows. If you go to a Tichy or the Grant Line website, it tells you exactly what size hole you need for that window because they like to sell their windows to kit builders, to kit manufacturers. And the FDM printer prints precisely. The windows just drop right into place.
Oh,
so
nice.
I was shocked the first time I did it. But the Tichy windows give it a lot nicer look than printing the windows myself. If you compare those windows to these windows, the windows, in my opinion, that you print on the home printer are they're what I call clunky. If you're old enough to remember the old Revell kits from like the 1950s, and yes, I know I'm not old enough to remember those really, but I have some around, and the windows are just too thick and too heavy looking.
Well, we had a question from one of the panelists here, Kent, wanted to know about, maybe a little more information about SketchUp and how you would design one of these buildings.
How much do you want to go into that?
Well, it's
how-
11. It's 7 after 11. I mean, we were planning
I mean,
on an
let
hour
me,
and a half. Maybe we could go to 2 hours if we know people
No,
are
I
interested
got-
in hang out some of it.
I got all night, but can you see that okay if I draw right there?
We probably could, yeah.
Man, maybe we can zoom it in a little bit more. I'm not sure. Let me start a new thing here. Basically, when you open up SketchUp, which is, again, it's free download, just go to sketchup.com. You can download it, and that's what it comes up with. They want you to draw it. Can you see the little arrow from my mouse? Okay.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. And the guy, they want you to draw in that quadrant where the guy's at. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know what. If you basically, go ahead.
It looks like we might be able to see it better there now.
I mean,
Oh yeah, okay, we can see it. Yeah.
I mean, I can draw. Rather than drawing a, you want me to draw a little building real quick?
Yeah, just 4
Okay.
walls would be fine, just to show
Yeah,
what
okay.
it would look like.
What I'm going to do is, essentially, I'm starting at this corner with my drawing, and we're going to make an 8-foot square building. So I'm going to go back 96 inches. I can punch it in on my keypad and go back 96 inches, and then I can go over. See, the red turns red when I go to the right. You're on the red axis. I can punch in 96 on my keypad, and when I come back this direction, it'll turn back green, hopefully, in the green axis, and it'll actually turn. See that little black dot comes up there?
Yeah.
And that tells you you're even with the one over there, and you can complete your square. When you complete the square, you now have a surface. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I've got a surface I've created there. Let me reach over here. Sorry, shut off the printer. We do have some wood barrels done. We're gonna get. I hate this guy, and he's a pain in the butt as far as I'm concerned. I always touch him and delete him. It's nothing personal, but I don't like him. For simplicity's sake here, there's a tool up here and that allows you to draw parallel lines. So I can draw a line parallel to the inside of that thing, and I like to make my walls 3 inches thick. So I punch in that it's 3 inches from the inside, and delete that, so now I have a 3-inch wall. I couldn't, if we tried to print that, we would print nothing because there's nothing there. There's just surface. There's no dimension to it at all. But I can push on this push-pull tool up here, and I realize I'm going too fast and you're not going to be able to follow. But I can pull that wall right up and make an 8-foot tall wall. So now we've got an
8-foot cell.
Yeah, we got an 8-foot cell. We got a built thing to stick on the roof of the building. That's where your elevator tower is. Okay. If you want to say I want to put a door in the middle of it, we can go over here, grab our little measuring tool, and it'll come over and it'll actually find the center right here. And I can make say I want to put a 3-foot door in there, so I'd want to go 18 inches to either side. And I want to come up 6'8", and I can get my pencil here and draw that line. And I've got a door there, except I really don't have a door, do I? I just got a line there. I get that push-pull tool, and I just made a door.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
It takes seconds once you catch on to it.
Yeah, so you can, and we'll eliminate those guidelines that we got there. But essentially,
Is
we've
that
built
what they are? They're like construction lines?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, the little tape measure thing makes a guide that you can then draw to, and then you get them exactly the right size.
Oh, wow, okay. Every time I listen to you about this, I learn a new thing.
Well, we're going to do something else now. We're going to put lap siding around it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we draw a piece of lap siding there. I'm not going to do the whole thing but I'm going to highlight the outsides of this building because I want the lap siding to go all the way around, right? I've highlighted with the blue lines all the way around the building. I go up here to the tools, push the follow me tool, and click on that. We just put lap siding all the way around the building.
Wow.
When he clicked that thing, it did it automatic all the way.
And if I had made those a sawtooth of lap siding all the way up the side of that building and made them all one piece, I could have clicked on it once and it'd put lap siding on the whole damn building.
So you just select the edges around the perimeter of the wall,
Right.
and then use the follow me tool and select that shape.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, I thought that would be a real pain in the butt to do lap side, but that's easy.
Okay, and if you're doing bricks, the way I do bricks, and obviously another thing to keep in mind when you're doing anything on your FDM printer, whether it's in the Finia or a MakerBot or a M3D or whatever, is going to have different resolution and it's going to work different. So the way I draw bricks might very well be, I'm going to go stay here from this, is going to be different than the way you might need to draw bricks, okay? So I want to give you an idea though, because I draw a brick 4 inches tall. I'm going to do it out here in the middle of nowhere, but 4 inches tall and 8 inches long. 8 inches long is about right for a standard brick, but 4 inches tall is really too tall for most bricks. There is no real standard on bricks, but most of them are basically
6x2. That's what I remember.
yeah, they're basic. They're probably 2 2/3 or something like that to make room for mortar lines, because you have 3 bricks with mortar lines that equal your 8x16 concrete block. But I make them 4 inches by 8 inches, and then I come in 1 inch from the edge, and I actually pull that center out 1 inch, and then I make my brick like this.
It's like a little pyramid with the top cut off.
Yeah. Now, we're kind of getting in the weeds here, but you'll notice that there's some white and some gray surfaces there, right?
Right.
Okay. White surfaces are the outside, or what the SketchUp program thinks is the outside, and gray it thinks is the inside. On some printers, that's a problem. On the M3D and the Affinia, that's an issue. Their software can't figure out insides and outsides without reading what the program says it is. To be real honest, Shapeways is much smarter. They got $100,000 printers. It's mind-boggling, but it figures its own things out. So you have to, for what we're doing, we're going to click on all those surfaces and reverse them so that they're right. So that now that's the inside and that's the outside. Okay? So we've made a brick. I can double-click on that, make it all blue, right-click on it, make it a component, and it is a brick. Okay? And I can pick that brick up and I can move it around and put it wherever I want. I want to put it on this wall here, right? Oops, grab hold of it right. I can grab a corner of it and I can put it right there. I got one brick. I got a couple more to go to finish this building, but I can copy that and got another brick and start stacking them up. And now I got 2 bricks. I can highlight both of them, copy those, and I can stack 2 bricks at a time.
Now, is there any array tool that you can use to replicate them?
Is there any what?
Like an array command that would say,
yes,
you know,
yes, there are array commands, and it particularly comes in handy for like pillars and things like that when you want to put a whole bunch of them or put 10 of them in a row or something like that.
Right.
And you can, in this case, I'm going to have to draw a half brick, and I can stack those up there. And you're going to have to draw a brick that goes around the corner and things like that. But in reality, if it's a square building, you pretty much have corner bricks, regular bricks, and half bricks. And that's the only thing you really have to draw. After that, it's copy and paste and arraying them and doing things, and you can stack up a building pretty quickly.
Wow.
And you cut a brick in half, obviously. That one building I had a rounded window in it. All those bricks had to be drawn each individually because each one of them darn things was different, because the radius wasn't in the middle of the wall. It didn't line up perfectly with the bricks. So yeah, that took a little time, but the rest of the bricks, they're just bricks. They're just squares and you're stacking them. Now, without getting too far into it again. In the end, after I'm done with it, I actually explode all those individual bricks and make them all one big piece. So they're not a bunch of little individual bricks.
Okay, so when you're done, you explode them, then group them back together.
Right, so that they're all knitted together. Usually it doesn't matter from a software standpoint because, again, the software in the printer that it's using has to read where all those things are. And I want it to be one piece that is watertight. The building is all one piece, and there's no a bunch of little pieces there, because sometimes it doesn't read things right.
Does it try to read like the surfaces between edges?
Yeah, let's do something here. I'll show you what I mean. I don't need to say that. We're going to draw a I'm going to draw a rectangle here and draw a square. And then we're going to... he's inside. We buried him. He's poor guy. I feel sorry for him. Not really. I don't care at all.
Cast him out.
Draw another rectangle here. Okay. And this one here then... Whoops. We've got all kinds of... We've got an overlap here in the case of... Should have done it different. Let me do it this way. And make that a component. Then we're going to copy it, paste it. We got two of them, and we're going to overlap them like that. So the printer looks at that. The printer software looks at that and says, "Wait a minute, I've got two squares there, and I've got two things to print, but they overlap, so I don't know which one to print." And Shapeways does this a lot. You do that. It'll print one of those squares for you, not the other one. And in the mail, 2 weeks later or whatever it takes for Shapeways to ship it, you'll get one square, because it can't figure out what you want them to do. Okay, so you can eliminate that. You can actually explode them both, highlight them both, and say you want to intersect them. And see, now there's lines there where they intersect. That makes sense?
Yeah. And there's no internal faces where they...
Oh, yes, there are. They're still there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. We're going to go inside, and there's our inside surfaces. Okay? So now we have to go in and eliminate the inside surfaces.
Oh, because now they're merged. They become separate pieces. You can remove.
But yeah, now I can go in and eliminate all the interior. Now that there's a better view of it, you can see that we've got the guys in there. We eliminated him. I don't know what those pieces are, but you have to eliminate those interior surfaces. Again, it's just a matter of what the software reads. There are times when I've sent stuff to Shapeways and I've printed stuff on the Athenia that it really shouldn't have printed right, and it did. And there are other times that I thought it ought to print right, and it didn't.
This is an interior I did for an SW9 locomotive, and all of these boxes where these shapes are intersecting each other, like you're on the throttle stand, and I had to go back inside then and take out all those inside surfaces where they met. Otherwise, it never would have printed near as well.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's just all kinds of odd issues you're going to run into, and a lot of it boils down to trying it.
Yeah.
And that's just like the inside versus outside surfaces. Somebody online, I was having some problems, and I got online and one of the chat things and said, what's going on here? Why isn't this printing right? And the guy said, well, you got all backward surfaces. Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know why one was gray, one was white. And some of that boils down to you can go to like I say, when I did most of my learning on their videos online, and there's probably 20 or so videos, and I've never graduated because I've never got past about 6, so there's still a lot to learn.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, they have a good forum that you
they
post
do.
on. and they can email you a daily digest of postings, so you can always ask questions on there.
And they're actually really good at getting back to you. If you have a technical question, the people that the SketchUp company will really get back to you. I mean, I've had them email me on stuff. I haven't asked a question in a long time now, but they're really, really very responsive at getting back to you on stuff.
I will say this: I tried to look this morning at TurboCAD to try and learn some more on it, and I couldn't hardly find a tutorial, especially on YouTube, for it. But SketchUp, there's tons of them out there. You have no problem from going in and finding out things from them. So,
well, there you go.
I give credit to Google and SketchUp. They're much better.
That's a project for you, Miles, from Model Railroad University. Show people how to use TurboCAD to use the Cricut.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the TurboCAD for the Cricut. And I will say this, though. Every time I call TurboCAD direct, I get somebody and he answers my question. They always have somebody online that can talk to you and walk you through the process. So they're very good about supporting the product. I'm just not seeing, third parties out there doing YouTube stuff on this is how I use TurboCAD.
But how much is TurboCAD?
How much is it?
Yeah.
I think I paid $89.
Yeah, he's got the 2D and 3D in his, and I just bought the 2D because that's all I wanted it for was the Cricut, and the 2D was $49. I know that because it hadn't been that long ago. And
that's not bad.
Yeah, no,
it's not bad in either case. No, I got the 3D, and then I went ahead and bought the whatever it was, the other thing they sent out here the other day that's supposedly going to make it easier to do 3D models. And I haven't even tried that yet. I can't even tell if it's working, but I'll figure it out here someday.
But there was an architect that I got some information on through SketchUp. He's going to be publishing a book about doing building design using SketchUp, which sounds like it'd be interesting for modelists to use, because we could all learn his techniques for designing a building in SketchUp. Obviously, they may need some correction based on some of the things like Ken said tonight. How do we layer it for support structure and stuff like that? But it might be an interesting book to read, to see how to use it to design a structure,
SketchUp is used in a lot of different places that you wouldn't think of. My sons are in the comic book industry, and I know a friend who's a comic book artist, and he uses SketchUp to draw the buildings so that he can sketch them into the comic book and get all the rooms in the right places. He actually hires an architecture student from the university to come in and draw the buildings for him so that he can walk through the building and get his positions all right for where the characters are at. It's insane.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So you can do about anything that way. You want to go over the SketchUp? I mean, the Cricut, those two buildings?
Cricut they want to wait on. So
okay.
We could do these.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole episode like this on using the Cricut and everything. So
let's hit these little gas stations over here.
The gas stations are too cool to pass up.
There you go. The HO, the little building is HO scale. That's actually based on the very first Phillips 66 gas station in Texas.
Oh wow!
Which is still standing. And so I printed it up in HO and unfortunately showed it to some people who are sight challenged and are in O scale. And so I just upsized it to O scale, really didn't change virtually anything, and printed it out in O scale.
Oh, nice.
In reality,
those of us that were sight challenged couldn't resist it, so I put a concrete tile roof on it, or the ceramic tile, whatever they call it. Anyway, I thought it was in keeping with the building. But he printed this building, this part, in essentially one shot. I think you printed this.
Yeah,
chimney top
separate to avoid some support material, but the rest of it's all one piece.
The rest of it's all one piece.
Keep doing G.
Oh, in pieces maybe. Yeah.
But if you look closely at the O scale, when the mortar lines are way too big, because I use the same drawing as the HO, and in reality you should really redraw the whole thing. But Considering I was going to give him the model, I wasn't going to go to that much trouble. I like him, but not that much.
It's only miles, right?
Yeah. Well, I think I printed 2 of those. You got one, and Larry.
Larry Alfred got the other.
Yeah.
We had a comment here from Andrew Gilmore that said that we should start putting together a library for SketchUp buildings on YouTube Model Builders. So if anybody's out there is interested in learning SketchUp and doing stuff like that, we could probably work with trying to figure out some way of doing something like that, because we do have access to our shared Google Drive that we can open up for public.
That's where the future's at. The question is, that's like PinShape that has that right now. You can go on there and download their things or download drawings from them, but what they're doing is they're selling the drawing then. So if you were wanting that gas station, for instance, if I loaded that gas station up, you could download the gas station for $2 or $3 or whatever the heck I put the price at. They keep their percentage to help pay for their website, and then they send the rest to me via PayPal.
Okay.
I mean, that's what PinShape is really for, so that people aren't giving away their designs. By the same token, once you download that design, you can print as many of them as you want, can't you?
Yes.
So
the time. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah, but you start at printing, you walk away, you go upstairs and have your Diet Dr. Pepper, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's one of those things that there's no real safety in it. So there's not a lot of stuff, not a lot of people doing it because they don't want to give away their designs.
This Aphinia Apprentice Show is brought to you by Dr.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's
everything Miles does is brought to you by Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper.
They should give me a commission for all the promos I do for them.
Yeah, right.
Let's show them this building here. We show them the chimneys and the roof detail stuff there. If you want to set it in the same spot there. But yeah, the building's really a wood building, but a lot of the details that I put on it, the roof vents, and the foundation actually underneath the rock foundation underneath it, or the block foundation, actually the fan up there in the upper right.
You're up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the fan up here, that's printed on the Aphinia, but the chimneys are printed on the Aphinia. The roof vents are. Probably the neatest thing that was printed on the Aphinia, though, is the roof framing. You can see the roof framing through the shingles that have fallen off.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know where I was going to put those holes at when I designed the roof. So the entire roof.
Oops, sorry, I went the wrong way.
No. The entire roof is actually framed.
Wow.
That entire thing is.
It's printed.
That's all printed on the Aphinia.
Nice.
And you could print like a 2x4 almost to scale then.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are probably 2x10s, I'm guessing.
According to the NMRA rules, if anybody should be interested in this, if you do the drawing and you do the construction, it's all legal to put into a contest, and it's all scratch building.
Nice. Good to know.
If you would go to the Pinterest, or if you go to one of the other sites and download the diagrams and print, then that's not right. But so long as you are the designer and the builder, you can say it's totally scratch built by you.
Nice. That's great to know, because I mean, there are people that like to do this now, and I definitely want to get into it. I've done a few things like parts for Mike and stuff, but I've been using a couple times I used SketchUp after I learned how to really do it. But then some other stuff I've done using Autodesk Inventor, the 3D solids modeler.
Okay. Yeah.
But I knew that product, so.
Well, I did, just for what it's worth, get this on there. Those are the wood barrels. I think you can see those.
Yeah.
Okay, and so those are basically the same as with no support material. They just pop right off of there. You have wood barrels.
Nice.
So in about 20 minutes, you make 4 wood barrels, and we're talking about something else, and it's doing all the work for us.
Yeah.
But those kinds of things, like the barrels, the details here with on the roof vents, the fan, that's the kind of the smallest type of stuff that you can do. I didn't really get the Affinia to do the small details. I got us to do the big buildings, because a big building printed at Shapeways is going to be $100.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I can print it for, literally $2 or $3.
Wow.
Because the cost of the material. I mean,
that's cheaper than buying like styrene and wood to scratch build it.
Oh, sure. That, the plastic, the reel of plastic up there, you don't hardly see it move at all when it's printing barrels.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
I mean, it's basically you got weed eater line and you're squeezing it out to really thin piece. It's barely moving when it's printing. So, but we do want to show you some really fine, some things that we did at Shapeways too. Let me move over here to. We're going to try anyway.
Mm-hmm.
See if we can get it pulled up here. But because I've done a lot of really tiny details too, I don't know which one he's got up here first.
He has you up, Kent.
Yeah, he has me up, I know. Which is scary, isn't it?
Very much so.
But I've done, besides like the machinery that we've done there, I did some chainsaws and things like that. See if we can get them.
Really? Chainsaws?
The chainsaws were a lot of fun. Let's put it like this. When I posted those online, they could. What do you got up there first, Miles? See if we, but the chainsaws, let me dig them out here, if nothing else. The chainsaws caused quite a stir, is the way I would put it. We're on the big one here.
Yeah, we'll have to get the screen share. I have to try out the screen share with my MacBook and see if I can get that to work for you, Miles.
I've got them loaded, but I don't know how to bring them up. So we'll do it this way. I think you're on.
So Kent, do you have a little goalie mask to go with the chainsaw?
What's that?
Oh, look at that! Wow.
All
You have a little goalie mask to go with the chainsaws.
These are off of a microscope camera, and to give you an example, I don't know if I got it down here or not, but this board is like a 2x4 in HO scale.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, this is, I don't know how many hundreds of times. These are just a few millimeters apart, the lines. These are pipes. I tried to light them so you could see the holes. The diameter of those pipes is what?
8 inches HO scale.
8-inch HO scale. And here's the elbow. A couple
And they're actually hollow pipes, so they do telescope into each other.
Yeah, I tried to light them so you could see this hollowness in here.
Yeah, I've got some of that.
Chainsaw.
Oh, wow.
That's actually based on a 1940s, a really, really early McCullough.
That's a really big chainsaw.
That's a monster.
Got it on the screen, huge, but these things are really tiny. All printed on them. These are Shapeways?
Yeah, those are done at Shapeways.
These are Shapeways.
So when are you ordering your printer, Mike?
As soon as Miles can get me a discount again.
These are electric meters, and those are 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch, give or take.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That is good.
I mean, they're just like the electric meter on your house.
These are scuppers, and they are way under 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch. They're the rain collection boxes, you'd separate
Yeah.
them, and your drain pipe would come out here. I mean, just incredibly small. These are the roof drains.
Oh, my God.
And then the finished pieces.
That is amazing.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Anchors for the side of the building, and these are less than a quarter, barely over 1/8 in tall.
Oh, I have a perfect project for that.
Oh, yeah.
You won't believe this, but this is HO fence pieces. This is a cross piece. This is a top piece. These are finial balls.
For chain link?
What's that?
For a chain link fence?
Chain link, yeah.
Yeah, they're hollowed out so you can put a wire in
They're
them.
hollowed out so you can put the wire in, and I don't think these
Oh, that's too much.
That is too much.
They're
That
about,
is way too
they're about
much.
3 inches HO.
I can tell you they're very fragile.
Yeah, they are.
I'm sure.
Even to hand them to photograph. This is a pew, church pew. you can see the top here, and it's got the
Where's the kneeler?
what's that?
Where's the kneeler?
Yeah, really.
Should there be a kneeler in the back?
That's only if it's a Catholic church.
Coke machine. U.S. mailbox.
Now, the Coke machine is what you were showing people how to do up at MRU one year, right, Miles?
Here's it. Yeah. Desk, HO,
Oh, that's nice.
roll top.
Happy dang. Look at
The roll top's actually an interesting story. You'll see the cubbies are there, and when I first sent that to Shapeways, this was 3 years ago, and Shapeways was reasonably new at the time. And Shapeways tells you what the minimum wall thickness is that they'll print. They'll also tell you what the minimum surface detail or the minimum surface detail they'll print. And they told me they couldn't print that because the wall thickness in the cubbies was too small. And I said, well, lay it on its back. It's surface detail, and it's not too small for surface detail. And they argued with me. I actually called them, talked to them on the phone, and they argued with me. And I said, they said, well, we don't know which way it's going to go. And I said, I don't know either. Just print the damn thing, okay? I'll pay for it. And since then, now they have a printed anyway option, so they won't call you anymore. So I always take the printed anyway. I don't care if it's wrong. It's my fault. I'll pay for it.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
These are lampshades. You see, he started to paint it green here on the inside, and he's got a silver paint on the green on the outside, silver on the inside.
Yeah, I actually sized those to fit some little LEDs I had.
I had to do a helicon focus on this because this desk is the roll top desk standing up. You're looking at the panels that he put in the end of the roll top desk.
Wow.
Here's his office swivel chair to go with it, which of course is way lower, so I had to put them together to make that photograph come out.
That's
more chairs.
amazing.
Table saw.
Nice.
Check the handle with, the crank with the handle sticking out. You see the hidden shadow there.
Yeah.
It's incredible detail. Now this is SLA. This is the liquid print.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Now, let me just put it up there.
Yeah. Put your finger right up about there. Oh, you left it close it. Or hold it up close if you want to. See if I can't get it focused.
We're going to try to get a picture of the chair.
Come in. You watch it right here. You can see you coming in. You got to be way in about here. There you go. That's the chair on his finger.
Oh my gosh.
So I say the microscope camera makes them look so big, but you have no idea how small they are.
They're insanely fragile. I usually don't pick it up with my fingers. I use tweezers because I can crush that thing to dust.
I'm sure.
Here's a surface planer. This is the door on that smokehouse. The detail.
Oh, look at that. That's nice hinge detail.
And look at the detail in the brick and in the wood of the door itself. And it's just incredible.
That's some really cool stuff, guys.
We're back. So
What? And some of the stuff too. Right. You notice the detail on some of those. The wood grain on that door. That's the natural layering of the printer. I didn't design wood grain in there. It'd be nice if I was smart enough to do that. But because the way I designed it, and I made it so that the layering went the length of the board, and it gave it some grain. This is a good example of grain here. If we can put this one in here, I think we can do that. This is based on actually some loosely, however, on drawings in the Narrow Gauge and Short Line Gazette several years ago, where they found an old cabin at a logging camp that was sided with slabs. The slabs cut off of the edges of the logs, and so you can see the vertical log slabs and the grain in them. And that I didn't do anything special to make that grain. I just designed it and laid the printer down, or laid the walls down, printed them laying down, and so the grain of the natural layering creates the grain on the logs. Wow. So, it's a matter of figuring out which way you want to turn things to make them look right. Same way with this piece here. Most people, let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. Whoops.
Other out.
The other out.
The other out, yeah. But this particular item here is a airplane hangar based on some World War II era airplane hangars, and I'd have to. It's like 13 pieces but if you printed it so that the layers were running around this way, it would look crazy because all the grain in these sides were going that way. So this thing was printed in every which direction. So the main part of the building was actually printed up on end like this. These end panels here were printed down like that, so that, and then everything just glued together.
So even the roof is all printed too.
I'm sorry, say it again, sir.
The roof is printed as well?
Yeah, that whole thing's printed.
Wow.
The only thing that's not printed are the rails, the little tiny styrene pieces. The foundation's printed.
Right. Wow.
Everything's printed.
That's fantastic.
That's one of the items that when I show that to people, they go, "Oh, you didn't 3D print that."
Why I remember seeing that before. Up at Amherst.
Probably so. Yeah, that was actually on display in the Affinia booth a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's where I saw that because I remember talking to the guy from Affinia, and he actually sold 2 or 3 printers at Amherst. He says he's never sold a printer at any trade show until he comes to a model railroad trade show. Then he sells 3 of the darn things.
Yeah.
Did you get your commissions from that, Ken?
He's been real good about sending us demo printers for us to use for the classes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to do because he's pushing into a new segment of sales for him. So why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's getting close to time for wrapping up. So, does anybody on the panel here have any questions they would like to ask before we do our final business and close down?
Nobody asked price.
What? No, you said it was $1,400. How much was the reel of that of the material?
The material from Affinia, the machine's $1,300. The reel I buy, because I buy the premium stuff, is about $40. You can buy material that's $20.
Did we show this one?
I don't think. Did we ever even show the?
No, we did not
show
yet.
this one. This is. Let me do this here.
What?
Let's go with this camera. Go this way. This new. This is the little M3D off the Kickstarter program. Does a great job of printing. It's the one that I have, but it does an absolutely fantastic job. The difference in this machine and the Affinia basically is I do not have a heated bed, and you need a heated bed in order to run ABS styrene. So I have to run nothing but PLA, but I find the PLA works just as well. Quick note, what the professional model makers do with these parts, nobody asked about the ridging, I don't think, or if they did, I was off doing something else. Crazy glue can be used to smooth these parts out, especially the thin. Take a piece of Walmart bag and make a little French polishing cloth, and I think I've got one over here, maybe. Now I got something I can show you.
It basically put some of the CA on the Walmart bag and rub it onto the model.
What I do is I take a Kleenex, put it in the center of this plastic, put it around like that so I have a ball of the bag here, and then I can rub that glue all over, spritz it, harden it, and then it's sandable. It makes it much more handleable, that's not a word, but you understand, than it is when it first comes out. The other thing is Sherwin-Williams makes a paint called Surefil, S-U-R-Fil. It is the opposite of what we normally use in model railroading because its pigments are thick, but it will fill in all of those gaps and ridges in between, and it's a fast way of filling the parts and making them smoother if that's what you need to do.
Right.
And this little guy is only $350, so he's pretty cheap. The material, however, is almost, I use the same stuff that Kent does, so the material is no different in cost. But the cost of the machine is only $350, so it's a whole lot cheaper, more reasonable to buy.
And how big is the build volume on that? Like 5 by 5 by 5, I think?
It's very close, yes. Actually, the two machines are quite close in their build envelopes.
Oh, okay. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you very much. It's much appreciated. You guys did a wonderful job tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed. You put on a great presentation. So
Thank
one
you.
quick last time, we're going to go through and talk about our big build contest here. So just remember, we have 15 days left to the end of the big build contest. So if you're interested to register a model, go to www.youtubemodelbuilders.com, and you can click on the YouTube Model Builders Big Build Contest link in the top right. Go and register your model and put your videos up. And if you have any questions on how to do the videos, you can check Eric Hall's channel, IMRRO.com. He will show you exactly how to do the videos, what we're looking for. And don't forget the YouTube Model Builders website for our free online e-mag, which will be published again tomorrow night. And we have our Tuesdays and Thursday live chat hangouts. And then we have the once a month live show. So come on and join us, folks. All right, guys. Thank you very much for everything. Thanks to all the people who came on board here and watched. And Miles, I'll be looking forward to seeing. I think it's next month for the cricket demonstration. So, but I'll touch base with you on that and make sure we get the schedule together. So.
All right, sounds good.
All right, guys. We're going to
Thanks.
go off the air. So you take care.